Going on, everybody? It's Key Time coming back with another one to talk about college football week one. Now, there are four games that I talked about, and I looked at all of them and covered all of them. And I have to say that I am impressed by what Miami showed, and I'm also impressed by what USC showed on the defensive side of the ball. But the first game I'm going to talk about is Georgia and Clemson. Everybody said that Georgia and Clemson, this would be a close game, a tough game, but it wasn't. You know what happened? First half, Clemson, they kept it close. They was only down 6 points. And then at halftime, Georgia, they didn't mess around. After halftime, they came out and put up some points, and it was basically over for Clemson. Now, the quarterback for Clemson, Caleb Klubnik, he ain't the guy for Clemson. He really not, because this guy, once he cannot do a 5 yard hitch route. If he do a 5 yard hitch route, it's a possibility of it being intercepted. As a quarterback, a 5 yard hitch route pass is one of the easiest play calls that a quarterback can ever get. But Caleb Klubnik, he was 11 of 29 for 117 yards to be exact. You can't win like that. And as far as Dabo Swinney, the college football has passed him by. He hasn't gotten any players out of the transfer portal. He falls into a category with three other schools, and I'm gonna give you the schools right now. I'm gonna give you the schools: Army, Navy, and Clemson, and also it's a group of five schools that don't use the transfer portal. That don't use the transfer. Oh, Air Force. It's Air Force, Navy, Army, and Clemson. He falls into that category. And Dabo Swinney, I believe it's time for him to go, because you cannot keep having games like this. You cannot keep saying that we're gonna build from in-house. Every team in college, almost every team in college football, is using the transfer portal to their advantage. But Dabo Swinney, he has the mindset of building within the program and building a powerhouse. Those days of college football are gone. So, Clemson, you got a lot of thinking to do. And also, Dabo Swinney, are the players confident in you like they should be? I don't think so. Caleb Klubnik, you gonna need another answer other than Caleb Klubnik at quarterback. That's all I got to say about Clemson and UGA. Now the next game I want to talk about is Texas A&M and Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame, they went into College Station and won. And it really was a defensive struggle throughout the first 3 quarters. But then in the fourth quarter, Notre Dame put their big boy boots on and they started running the ball, and it was like a runaway train, and Texas A&M couldn't stop it. Texas A&M couldn't stop it. Now we all know that Texas A&M, they have a new coach, Mike Elko. He came from Duke. Also, the quarterback from Notre Dame came from Duke. So Mike Elko knew his tendencies, and he had a tough time trying to stop him Saturday night. So when you look at it, Texas A&M, they are the number 20th. They are the 20th ranked team in the top 25. Well, not anymore, but Texas A&M, they are a young and upcoming team. They got a new coach and a new regime. Notre Dame, they've had this same coach and same regime for the last 3 years. Now, the only thing I can say is Notre Dame, even if they win all their games, the only thing that they are going to be able to do is get to the 5th seed in the college football playoff because the top four seeds, I'm going to remind you every time about this, America, world. I'm going to remind you the top four teams, they all have to win their conference in order to be the top four. The seeds 1 through 4 has to be top four. No, the seeds 1 through 4 have to be conference champions. 5 through 12, those are the wild cards, and the 8 through 12s are perceivably the wild cards. Now, since we got all of that out the way, the next game I want to talk about is Miami versus the Florida Gators. Now, I was looking forward to this game, and I saw a lot of Miami and didn't see enough of Florida in this game. I don't know what happened, but Cam Ward had a good game. He threw an interception, and it seemed like after that interception, everybody on the Miami sideline just woke up and said, hey, we ain't about to let them come back. Miami, they methodically annihilated the Florida Gators up and down the field. They had seven possessions. 6 of the 7 possessions went for touchdowns. The other possession went for a field goal. So, Miami, they are one of those top teams. Can they make some noise? They probably can, and they probably will. But do I think that they can get to the college football playoff? They probably can. But that's about as far as I see them going. Because you have other teams. You got Georgia, you got Oregon. Now, Oregon, they had a slight scare versus Idaho. So they didn't come out looking too hot. But back to Miami. Miami, they methodically moved the ball down the field versus Florida. And I am going to tell you, when it comes to the Florida Gators, I don't know what to say. But one thing I can say is, over the weekend, I heard from some of the Florida boosters. Now, when you get the boosters of a college complaining about this, about a head coach in any program, he on his, you better know that the coach is on his way out the door. And I even saw, when I was looking at the game, I even seen some of the fans 3 minutes into the third quarter leaving the stadium. You know it's bad when your fans come out of halftime, come from wherever they coming from, bathroom, getting food or whatever, and then 3 minutes into the third quarter, they starting to leave and ultimately throwing in the towel. So for the Florida Gators, I look at their schedule, it's going to be a tough road. And I'm telling you, if they don't win against Sanford this coming Saturday, Billy Napier, he going to be fired. Even if, now he should be able to blow out Sanford. And after that, you got Texas A&M. And Texas A&M, these next 2 games, you could probably win both of these games if you the Florida Gators. Sanford and Texas A&M, and after that, I don't know, because then you got UCF, then you got Tennessee, then you got Kentucky, then you got Georgia after that, and then you have those gauntlets: Ole Miss, Texas, LSU, FSU. I don't know if FSU gonna be able to put up the kind of fight that I think that FSU can against the Florida Gators, because both of those teams are in disarray right now. They are. Now, that's all I have to say about that game. Now, the next game I want to talk about is LSU, USC. Now, that was a good game. It was broadcast in Las Vegas, Nevada. There's Spades, where you can go gamble at, the gambling capital of the world. And I saw this entire game, and I was looking and I was seeing what kind of defense that both of these teams would show. And let me tell you, USC has a whole lot better defense than everybody was predicting. I was predicting that that the USC defense would give up about another 35, 40 points throughout this season. But they didn't give up that much. They only gave up 20 points. And let me tell you, now on the back end of that, LSU, I seen the way LSU was calling the offensive plays. You get inside the 15-yard line 3 times on 3 separate occasions in the game, and you fail to punch the ball into the end zone. Now that's bad in and of itself. And on top of that, the very first drive of the game, LSU went for it on 4th down at the 2-yard line, and they didn't get it in the end zone. And that's why I was saying, I was looking at the game, I said, I'm like, USC's defense has come to play. USC defense, they had 3 sacks and a turnover, and that turnover was detrimental. What I can say about USC quarterback Miller Moss, he was cutting LSU's defense up. He was carving it up like a pumpkin. And also LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, he was also covering up the defense of USC. But he had a tough time in the 4th quarter. Now I always have said when it comes to LSU, and particularly Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, I'm not a big fan of Brian Kelly anyway. I mean, if we know that his championship status, he really don't have no championship status. Because when he was at Notre Dame got to the championship, played Alabama, and got blew out 42-14. And that was back in 2013, so that was 11 years ago. And since then, it's just been a mediocre downward spiral for Brian Kelly. Now, Brian Kelly has been at LSU for 3 years, and every year in the opening game, he has lost. 2 years ago, he lost the first game against FSU. Last year, he lost the first game versus LSU. And this year, he lost the first game versus USC. And USC, they're not even in the Pac-12 no more. They are in the Big 12 conference. So you got blown out. Well, not blown out, but you got beat by a team that's just entering into a new conference. And also, Brian Kelly, I looked at that press conference and he said that he angry to the team. He angry with his team. You the head coach. You had 3 timeouts. And you could have called one of those timeouts to get your defense set and not to let USC score a touchdown. But you let USC score a touchdown and you didn't have enough time. Now, LSU with Brian Kelly, they have the tendency to do this. They have the tendency to get the lead in the 4th quarter and all of a sudden relax, look that lackadaisical, and all of a sudden act like they don't won the game. But the game ain't over until you see triple zeros hit the clock. That's all. The game ain't over. So, and as far as Brian Kelly beating his hand on the podium, on the table at his post-game press conference, that was inexcusable. The onus is on you. I fought all the coaches for that. I fought the defensive coordinator. I fought your offensive coordinator. And ultimately, I fought you, Brian Kelly, for letting another win slip out of your hands. And that's exactly what you did. 4th quarter coaching for the LSU Tigers has got to improve. If it don't, he gonna be out of there. But when I look at their schedule, this is only a bump in the road. I believe LSU, they'll be able to get 8-9 wins throughout the rest of their schedule. That's how I see. So this is just a minor bump in the road, but they have a tough time starting off the season with a win. That's the only problem with LSU. They haven't won a opening season game since Joe Burrow, and that has been 5 6 years. Well, 5 years. So LSU, you have a lot of stuff to talk about, and as you got to talk about that fourth quarter coaching. That fourth quarter coaching was just bad. And there's one other thing. I get before I get off of here and get out of here, did anybody see Boston College and Florida State last night? I don't know what to say about Florida State. I think I need to do a wellness check on Florida State. I think I do. Because when it comes to Florida State, now I know my team, the Florida Gators, we already projected to lose every game. So we ain't got nothing to lose. We gonna lose we gonna lose all the games. We gonna lose all the games. But Florida State, from where they were last year, 13-0, on the cusp of making the college football playoff, and ultimately getting denied a, a trip to the college football playoff, and then going to Dublin, Ireland, losing to Georgia Tech, the first time you done lost to Georgia Tech since 2016, and also last night getting beat by Boston College and getting thoroughly annihilated by Boston College. You know what? I'm going to tell y'all some of the stats. Now, as far as rushing, Boston College had over 190 yards rushing. 263 yards rushing. They had 190 yards rushing after 3 quarters. I'm gonna tell you what FSU had rushing after 3 quarters. A measly 8 yards. It's just terrible, man. It's terrible. And then you also have Timothy Castellanos, the Boston College quarterback. He only threw the ball 16 times. He was 10 of 16 for 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, and most importantly, 0 interceptions. Now, and Florida State, they wasn't able to get off the field. You had DJ Ugalele throwing inopportune passes. He threw one pass on 4th down that particularly I didn't agree with. I thought that he was seeing ghosts because he threw the ball and nobody was in 10 yards of his pass. No Seminole, rather. On top of that, Florida State, they was not able, coming into the season. Now, I can tell you this. Early last month, I heard this, that they was going to run the ball more with DJ Ugalele under center. They was going to run the ball more. But since then, after these first 2 games, DJ Ugalele done threw the ball over 75 times. He done threw the ball over 75 times. You're not getting nothing from your defense as far as consistent and timely stops. Mike Norvell, he was looking desperate last night, going for it on 4th and 5 in your territory at the 40-yard line, and that's where DJ Ugalele threw that interception. Man, only thing I can say is with Florida State, man, most of the big-time Florida schools, except for Miami right now, are between a rock and a hard place. Because you got the Florida Gators, rock and a hard place. You got Mike Norvell, Florida State Seminoles, between a rock and a hard place. Now, Florida State, they got Memphis coming up next week. And let me tell you, Memphis ain't no walk in the park. DJ Ugalele, he has got to play better. I believe his confidence is shot. I believe what they have to do is Florida State, they got to do what they said they was going to do before the season started. Running the football consistently and letting DJ Ugalele throw when he need to throw, because this is not a good look for the Florida State Seminoles. It's not. And Boston College, props to Boston College, because Boston College, they was a huge underdog in this game. They really were. They were a 16-point underdog. So Boston College, they got their first win of the season, a conference win at that. And for Florida State, you are between a rock and a hard place. I'm going to keep reiterating that. You've lost your second game. This is the second game you have lost in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years. Because, and plus this is a conference game, your first 2 losses this season has come against conference foes. You're not going to be able to win the ACC, the ACC. You might not even be able to win. You might not even get to the college football playoff the way it's looking right now. And I heard last night there were a bunch of Seminole fans saying, we want Brock. The next quarterback they have is Brock. So, does DJ Ugalele need a rejuvenation when it comes to his playing on the field? Yes, he does. Does he need a running game to help him out? Yes, he does. Florida State, they haven't cracked 100 yards in a long time. The last time they cracked 100 yards rushing was against Miami, and that was last season. Ever since then, Jordan Travis, who the last few games last season, he was able to carry the offense. This season, DJ Ugalele is not able to carry the offense. Florida State is going to need a consistent run game to help out DJ Ugalele. Now, I'm going to do a wellness check on you Florida State Seminole fans, because I do not like the way Florida State was playing last night. And judging by last week's game with Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, I saw quite a few Florida State fans burning up their Florida State flags. Hopefully they don't do nothing crazy today or anytime this week, because Saturday you got Memphis, and Memphis won't be a walk in the park. So that's all I got to say about Boston College and Florida State. And with that, those are my reactions from week 1 of the 2024 college football season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and other content. And also follow Key City Sports on TikTok. And remember one last thing, the key is always on time.